The chandeliers hung high, scattering glittering streaks of light across the ballroom floor of the Westwood Hotel. Crystal glasses clinked, laughter rose, and soft music floated, like a glossy varnish over a party too perfect to hold the truth. Anna Collins straightened the simple black dress, the only outfit she could call formal, and took a deep breath, as if preparing for a mental surgery. She was a sign language interpreter hired for the Seattle Children's Hospital fundraising gala. The job: blend in, always be ready, and don't draw attention. The pay: enough to cover part of her overdue rent. Her pride: slowly eroding. Seattle's elite orbited one another like polished planets. At the center of that whirl, tech billionaire Richard Hale, the golden face of the night, made his entrance. Cameras flashed. His name rang out like a brand. Donors leaned in with languid handshakes, and reporters fought for the best angle. On the LED boards, Hale Foundation blazed everywhere, like a spell to banish inconvenient questions. Anna moved along the edge of the ballroom, eyes scanning faces lacquered with wealth. No one needed her. No one ever did, until someone was forced to admit that language isn't always sound. She was about to turn toward the hors d'oeuvres when she saw the girl in the blue dress. Far in the corner, behind a marble pillar, Sophia Hale stood like a muted note. The sapphire gown hugged her teenage frame, diamonds glinted at her ears, and every detail was polished to perfection. But her eyes, alert, guarded, tracked moving lips. Her shoulders tightened, her throat swallowed dry, her hands clasped together. Anna recognized the signs. That silence belonged to someone far too used to reading meaning with her eyes. A group of guests drifted past without a glance. A society lady laughed. "Oh, Richard really is the hospital's savior tonight," leaning toward a camera. Sophia edged further into the shadows, as if trying to become part of the decor. The daughter of power, made invisible by power itself. Anna unclipped her guest badge from her bag strap, fingers trembling. To interfere in the gala of the wealthy was the fastest way to lose a job. But in that instant, the part of her that had watched hundreds of children abandoned in hospital hallways because communication was inconvenient won out. She stepped forward. Anna stopped a breath away, angled into Sophia's sightline, and signed, "Hello." Sophia's lashes flickered. The polite mask on her face cracked like glass. She signed back, swift, fluid, graceful as water. "You know ASL. I'm Anna, interpreter," Anna signed with a smile. "If you need tonight, I'm Sophia." A fragile, genuine spark passed through her eyes. "Thank you for talking to me." For a few minutes, the party behind them turned into a silent film. They spoke of the silly questions adults threw at a deaf girl. "Can you read lips?" before puffing cheeks and mouthing words like clowns for preschoolers. They spoke of nods and polite smiles from people who talked around Sophia, never to her. Every flick of Sophia's hands was a blade, sharp, elegant. And Anna realized the girl's wit, cut to the bone. "How's school?" Anna asked. "Westridge Academy. Regular school, but with a program for deaf students. Friends?" Sophia paused. "Few. Hearing kids think I'm stuck up because of who my father is. Deaf kids say I don't understand them because I have everything." "And how do you feel?" A shrug, tiny, ruthless. "Whatever. I still have art." Then, the faintest curve of her lips. "I paint. Not badly." Applause thundered at the ballroom's center. Richard Hale strode forward, each step measured in sponsorship dollars. He didn't glance toward the pillar where his daughter stood. arms stretched toward him, praise poured into the air. In the photos, he would shine absolutely. Outside the frame, Sophia stepped back half a pace. "Your father's busy," Anna sighed carefully. "He's always busy," Sophia replied, her hands soft yet sharp as commands. "Since my mother died, his company became his religion." Then, like reciting a line she'd been taught, she signed cold as steel. "I'm proud of him." The word proud dropped to the floor, shattering. Anna heard the sound with her eyes. "Your mother?" "Emily, pianist, taught me to hear with vibrations, with her face while she played." Then the music stopped. "Father wanted to fix me. Doctors, surgery, therapy, but never signs, not once. At home he talked to interpreters about me while I sat right there." Heat rose in Anna, as if she herself had been turned into furniture. She was about to respond when a shadow fell over them. Richard Hale stood a few steps away, flanked by a stone-faced assistant and a photographer raising his camera. He looked straight at his daughter's mouth, enunciating like a commercial. "Sophia, photo time." No nod to Anna. No, "Who are you?" Only schedule and lens. Sophia glanced at Anna. One blink, sharp as Morse code. "See?" Then she stepped. The morning after, Anna woke with a familiar sensation, her heart beating faster than the alarm clock. Half convinced, half certain, she knew she had just shot herself in the foot the night before. Who dared to publicly confront Richard Hale, the hospital's golden god of money? Her phone buzzed. The screen lit up. The number of the interpreting agency office. Anna swallowed hard, already knowing what was coming. "Anna Collins," she answered, her voice trembling. On the other end, her manager, sharp as a scalpel. "You caused trouble last night." "I can explain." "Better explain it to Richard Hale." His office called. And here's the surprise. He didn't demand to cancel the contract. He requested a private meeting with you this afternoon. At his house, Anna froze. The worst hadn't arrived yet. Or maybe the worst was not knowing what Hale actually wanted. The road to Medina. 3 hours later, Anna's aging car rolled past the towering iron gates of the Hale estate in Medina. Inside, a paved drive curved between knife-trimmed hedges. The immaculate lawns were so silent, her engine sounded like an intrusion. The house emerged around the bend, a block of glass and stone, cold, imposing, reflected in the silver waters of Lake Washington. The front door opened before she could even press the bell. The butler appeared, movements as precise as machinery. "Mr. Hale is expecting you. Please, follow me." Anna walked down a corridor lined with paintings. Most were classical, somber tones, but among them, one canvas stood out, cobalt blue crashing into gold, wild strokes clawing at the air, as if desperate to breathe inside a sealed room. Anna stopped. "Sophia's," the butler murmured, his eyes briefly softening. The meeting in the office. The study door swung open. Richard Hale stood by the glass wall, back straight, hands clasped behind him. The lake outside cast shifting light on his face, half bright, half shadowed. "Miss Collins," he said, voice low, cold, but without the blade it carried the night before. "Mr. Hale." Anna sat in the chair opposite the massive desk that seemed to split the room in two. He turned. His eyes weren't those of a triumphant billionaire. They were the eyes of a man cornered. "Last night, you crossed the line. But," he inhaled, paused, "you were also right." Anna clenched her hands in her lap, bracing for the knife to fall. Olivia, Sophia, lost her hearing in the same accident that killed her mother. Emily. For the first time, the name slipped from his lips. The room seemed to dim. Richard circled the desk, placed a photo down. A radiant woman holding a laughing baby, and a younger Richard, eyes shining with confidence. That day, I couldn't accept reality. I dragged Sophia across the world, doctors, surgeries, technology, only to hear the same answer: permanent. I threw money into the void, but never threw myself into learning to hear my daughter in her way. His voice dropped, breaking into pieces. I failed. But last night, when I saw her smile at you, speaking a language I don't understand, I realized I'm losing her. Completely. Anna said nothing. Behind the icy exterior, the man was cracking. Richard straightened, pulling his business armor back on. That's why I asked you here. Not to interpret for Sophia. To teach me. Sign language. I should have learned years ago. But if I still have a chance, I don't want to waste it. The unexpected proposal. Anna raised her brows. Mr. Hale, ASL isn't something you pick up quickly. It takes time, patience. I have time. At least a year before Sophia leaves for Harvard. 2 sessions a week, or more, if my schedule allows. You'll teach me, personally. Not through the agency. He slid a slim folder across the desk. The number on the contract widened Anna's eyes, enough to lift her from debt, to silence the nightly fear of rent. But heavier than money was the question. Why now? You could hire anyone more skilled than me, Anna whispered. No, Richard said instantly. I want the one person Sophia opened up to. The one who made her laugh. The one who made her visible. This isn't about expertise, it's about trust. He pushed the paper closer. Will you accept? Anna looked down, fingers gripping the chair's edge. In her mind, Sophia's image from last night returned. That fragile smile drowned beneath camera flashes. Those eyes pleading. Do you see me? The answer had been waiting there all along. Even before Richard spoke. 3 days later, Anna returned to the Hale estate with a slim folder of lesson plans and a basic sign language chart. Richard was already seated in his office, crisp white shirt, tie loosened. On the desk, no business files, only a blank-lined notebook. Shall we begin? Anna asked. Richard nodded, looking more like a student than a billionaire. Anna raised her hand, slowly signing, Hello? Richard mimicked her, clumsy, stiff-fingered. Not bad, Anna encouraged, but relax. This isn't a deal. You don't need a perfect contract here. He frowned, tried again. This time, his fingers softened, just slightly. All right, Anna said. Now for the most important phrase, I'm proud of you. Richard froze, his chest rose and fell. Shouldn't we start with the alphabet? No, Anna said firmly. What Sophia needs to hear isn't ABC. It's this. He swallowed, then tried. The movements were crooked, awkward, but recognizable. Anna gave a small nod. You just said your first sentence to your daughter. Richard dropped his hands onto the desk, exhaling. Harder than any presentation I've ever given. Over the weeks, the lessons became routine. Richard learned faster than he expected, but pride often flared. Once, when his fingers slipped out of rhythm, he snapped, This is pointless. I'm too old, Anna crossed her arms. You once learned Mandarin just to close a deal in Beijing. Don't tell me signing is harder than Chinese characters. Richard fell silent, shame flashing briefly in his eyes. Then he bowed his head and started over. But sometimes, resistance didn't come from the mind. It came from the heart. When Anna taught him to sign I love you, Richard suddenly stood, turning his back to the glass wall, shoulders rigid as stone. What is it? Anna asked. He didn't turn. I haven't said those words since the day Emily died. The air thickened. Richard braced a hand on the glass frame, staring at the dark lake. That night was black ice. I was driving. A truck skidded ahead. I swerved. We crashed through the guardrail. Emily died instantly. Sophia woke in the hospital, in a silent world. And I was the one behind the wheel. Anna went still. This was the shadow Sophia had hinted at. The accident. You can't keep blaming yourself forever, Anna said softly. Richard gave a bitter laugh, his voice breaking. And what would you say to a 7-year-old who wakes up deaf, asking why her mother's gone? I couldn't. So I buried myself in work, to avoid hearing her cry, those sounds tearing me apart. He paused, his voice hoarse. The only thing that stopped her tears was painting. Dark, twisted strokes. I thought it was a nightmare spilling onto canvas. But now, maybe it was her way of surviving. Anna tightened her grip on the notebook. The distance between father and daughter wasn't just language. It was guilt, crushing and unspoken. Richard turned back, eyes bloodshot. Do you think I still have time? Yes, Anna said firmly. But you need to understand. Learning sign is only the first step. What Sophia needs isn't perfect grammar in your hands. She needs a heart that can finally say, I'm here. For a moment, Richard's steel facade collapsed. The man who was one of Seattle's richest, most powerful, most successful, now looked like a lost soul, asking only one thing. What must I do for her to forgive me? Anna didn't answer right away, because sometimes there is no formula, only time, patience, and the courage not to disappear again. The meeting. Outside the classroom one rainy afternoon, Anna received an unexpected message from Sophia. Coffee near school. I have something I want to show you. When Anna arrived, Sophia was already seated by the window, a thick sketchbook in front of her. She wore an oversized hoodie, hair falling across half her face, but her eyes lit up when she saw Anna walk in. You came, Sophia sighed quickly, a fleeting smile crossing her lips, far more genuine than the blank mask she wore at parties. Anna sat down. What do you want to show me? Sophia opened the sketchbook. The first page, violent strokes of black and red, chaotic and raw with pain. The next, a girl curled in a corner, jagged spirals stabbing at her ears. This is me. In the first days after the accident, Sophia explained with her hands. No sound, only the screaming in my own head. Anna said nothing. She felt each line like a blade carving into her chest. The hidden wound. Sophia kept turning pages. Slowly, the colors shifted, from blood red to ashen gray, then into bruised shades of blue and purple. On some pages, Anna noticed fragments of sign language etched into the artwork, broken, scattered, but unmistakable. I drew so my mother would know I was still alive. But my father... Sophia's hands trembled. He never looked, Anna signed. He's learning now. Slowly, but it's real, Sophia smirked bitterly. He's tried before and quit. I don't believe him anymore. In the girl's eyes, Anna saw it clearly. Fragile hope layered over the fear of being abandoned again. The small promise. Anna placed her hand over the sketchbook, stopping Sophia from turning the page. You're showing me these because you still want someone to understand? Then give your father the chance. At least this time, he isn't learning for appearances. He's learning for you. Sophia bit her lip, eyes shimmering. She scribbled quickly on a napkin. If he quits, I won't forgive him. But if he truly means it, you'll promise to stand by me? Anna nodded firmly. I promise. In that moment, a fragile thread was tied, not between Sophia and her father, but between Sophia and Anna. Yet through that thread, hope might spread toward Hale. An unexpected step forward. A week later, in the library at the Hale estate, Richard signed slowly, haltingly, I'm proud of you. Sophia happened to be standing at the doorway. She froze. Her eyes widened, her chest tightened. For the very first time, her father, without an interpreter, without a stranger, had used his own clumsy hands to say those words. Tears welled instantly. Sophia didn't reply right away, but Anna saw it. The wall of ice between father and daughter had cracked, just slightly. Dramatic analysis. This section marks a pivotal shift in the emotional arc. Sophia is no longer just the forgotten child, but revealed as someone with a deep, painful, yet vibrant inner life, yearning for connection. Richard, still awkward, takes his first action strong enough to fracture the barrier between them. Anna emerges as the emotional bridge, teaching not only language, but the courage to face truth. The wrongness of the story grows sharper. A father who once chose work and avoidance over facing his wounded daughter. Yet his belated courage cracks open the possibility of redemption. The exhibition night. On a Friday evening, the West Ridge Academy Art Hall glowed under bright lights. The walls were lined with senior students' paintings, but the crowd seemed drawn to one corner, Sophia's collection. Her works were vibrant, overflowing with detail. On one side, chaos, reds and blacks, frantic brush strokes like a nightmare. On the other hand, blue, gold, and white weave together, hinting at light breaking through the dark. At the center stood the largest canvas, titled After the Silence, the very moment Sophia's life had changed forever. Anna stood nearby, heart pounding as she watched Sophia shine among the crowd, even as the girl hid beneath an oversized coat. She was no longer the lost child at a glittering gala, but an artist in her own right. The father appears. A ripple of murmurs swept through the hall. Richard Hale entered, impeccable suit, face carved in stone. Teachers and donors surged toward him, but Richard brushed them aside and walked straight to Sophia's corner. Anna held her breath. Sophia stood still, fingers clenched together. Richard stopped before, after the silence, his gaze fixed on every stroke, every hidden sign woven into the canvas. His eyes, for once, were not those of a businessman, but of a father seeing his daughter in truth. Then, in front of dozens of onlookers, Richard slowly, awkwardly signed, "Beautiful. I'm proud of you." The room went still. Sophia froze, tears brimming. She signed back, trembling. "Thank you." A simple moment. Yet for both, it was their first real touch after years of fracture. The unexpected shock. But before the joy could settle, the stage lights flared. The headmaster stepped forward to announce the grand prize, the Emily Hale Memorial Scholarship, a year of study at the Paris Academy of Fine Arts. "The recipient," he declared solemnly, "is Sophia Hale." Thunderous applause filled the hall. But Sophia's face drained of color. While the audience waited for her to step forward, she turned and walked straight out of the room. A wave of confusion swept through the crowd. Richard forced a stiff smile. "She's just overwhelmed. Please forgive her." Then he rushed after her. Anna followed close behind. The fiery confrontation. In an empty classroom, Sophia unleashed her fury. Hands signing so fast, Anna struggled to keep up. "How dare you use Mom's name to trap me? Why didn't you tell me first? Why do you always decide for me?" Richard looked at Anna, lost. "I don't understand fast enough." Anna cut in. "She's angry because you created a scholarship in her mother's name and mapped out a future in Paris without asking her. She already chose Harvard." Richard's face blanched. "I thought she'd be happy." "Paris is an opportunity no one could refuse," Sophia's reply sliced like glass. "I don't need opportunities you arrange. I need you to ask what I want." Every flick of her hands hit like a scream. The tension crackled in the room. The wall of truth. The argument drove Richard to the wall. Sophia broke down, her hands trembling. "You abandoned me for 9 years, sent me to boarding school, showed up for a few hours, then disappeared. Do you know how awful that was? Mom was gone, my hearing was gone, and then you were gone too." The words struck Richard like a blow to the chest. He faltered. "I only thought you needed a better environment. I was afraid that staying near me would hurt you more." Sophia signed furiously. "No, I needed you. Not schools, not specialists. You, the air shattered into painful truth." Anna saw it clearly. This was the moment the mask of the successful billionaire fell away, leaving only a father drowning in guilt. Dramatic commentary. Part 5 marks the story's emotional climax. Sophia explodes, exposing her years of pain at being abandoned and controlled. Richard is cornered by truth. His so-called protection was nothing more than an escape from guilt. Anna stands as witness and interpreter, turning the confrontation into a courtroom of emotions where nothing could be hidden. The wrongness is undeniable. A father who wielded money and power to dictate, yet neglected the simplest, most vital act: listening. And at this breaking point, the story reaches a tragic but necessary turn. The truth is finally spoken aloud. The late confession. The room sank into silence after the outburst. Sophia collapsed into a chair, her hands still trembling, tears streaming down her face. Richard stood a few steps away, pale, his shoulders heavy as though carrying a mountain of guilt. He spoke, voice breaking. "You're right. I abandoned you. Not because I didn't love you, but because I was a coward. I was terrified of looking into your eyes and seeing Emily. Terrified that every time your hands moved, I'd remember the moment I lost control of the wheel. I told myself sending you away was protection, but really, I was only protecting myself from guilt." He paused, eyes burning red. "I was wrong. Wrong from that day. Wrong in every year that followed. And I'm sorry." The tear of reconciliation. Sophia stared at her father, her hands frozen. The silence stretched, thick and unending. Then, slowly, she signed, each word carved into the air. "Do you know how long I've waited to hear that?" Richard choked, nodding, tears welling. He raised his hands, fumbling, hesitant, but filled with sincerity. "I love you, Sophia." Sophia broke. She rushed into his arms. For the first time in more than a decade, they embraced, not as strangers, but as father and daughter. Anna stood quietly, heart clenched. She knew she was witnessing a moment where destiny shifted. A fragile light. But reconciliation didn't turn everything rosy. Sophia lifted her tear-streaked face, signing firmly, "Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. You have to prove you won't give up again. I don't need Paris. I don't need money. I just need you to truly learn how to talk to me." Richard nodded fiercely. "I'll learn. I won't stop. Punish me in any way you want, but don't take away the chance for me to start again." Sophia gave a slight nod. Her eyes were still wary, fragile forgiveness, but forgiveness nonetheless. A beginning, however tentative. The final turning point. Months later, graduation day. Sophia, dressed in her cap and gown, stood at the podium. She signed her speech, while the interpreter's voice carried through the hall. In a world that worships sound, I've learned that sometimes the most important conversations happen in silence. Through eyes, through colors, through hands brave enough to speak the words the heart has hidden. Richard sat in the front row, eyes fixed on her every movement, face shining with pride. Next to him, Anna noticed his lips moving quietly, following her signs. No interpreter needed. After the ceremony, Richard led Sophia and Anna to a newly renovated glass-walled room in the Hale estate. He opened the door. Sunlight flooded a full art studio, easels, paints, canvases waiting. "Your studio," he said. Then, clumsy but determined, he signed, "For you. Always your home." Sophia burst into tears, this time not from pain, but from hope, finally given form. Dramatic commentary. Richard's confession is the turning point. He admits cowardice instead of hiding it. Sophia doesn't yield easily. She demands proof. Trust must be built with action, not just words. The wrongness is fully exposed. Avoidance never protects. It only prolongs the wound. Yet the story leaves us with light. Even after years of ruin, people can choose to learn again how to love. A new beginning. Half a year after graduation, Seattle buzzed with news. Richard Hale had officially founded the Emily Hale Foundation for Arts and Deaf Education. Not a flashy PR stunt to polish his name, but a real institution with impact. Funding free sign language classes, art therapy programs for deaf children, and scholarships dedicated to hearing-impaired students with creative dreams. At the launch ceremony, Richard didn't just speak with words. Standing beside his daughter, his large hands trembling but resolute, he signed each sentence. "This was Emily's wish, and it is my promise that no child will grow up in silence the way my daughter once did." The hall fell silent. Sophia squeezed his hand, smiling a radiant smile few had ever seen. Na's role. When the board of directors was announced, Richard surprised everyone by inviting Anna to the stage. This foundation could not exist without one person, someone who taught me that communication isn't only about sound, but about the courage to look another person in the eye. I present to you Anna Collins, Program Director of the Emily Hale Foundation. Anna was stunned. From a contract interpreter struggling to pay rent, she had become the cornerstone of the Hale family's transformation. The hall rose in applause. Sophia embraced Anna tightly, whispering with her hands, "You changed my life. Now we'll change the lives of children like me." The new selves Richard changed profoundly. He remained a brilliant businessman, but alongside his deals, he now dedicated 2 fixed evenings a week to studying and practicing sign. Once, Anna caught him signing slowly to a deaf boy at a fundraiser. "You are not alone." "I understand you," Sophia transformed too. No longer the girl hiding beneath a hoodie, she entered Harvard as a rising young artist whose work had already hung in major galleries. More importantly, she no longer felt abandoned, because her father was now her most loyal audience. From flaws to healing. If in the beginning the wrongness was power and avoidance, in this closing chapter the light lies in courage, facing guilt, repairing with action. Richard learned to lower his pride to finally become a father. Sophia shed her role as the silent victim, emerging as a voice for a whole community. Anna, once the outsider, became the permanent bridge in their reconciliation. The story doesn't end with a perfect fairy tale, but with a new foundation, where communication rests on trust, love, and the true shared language of the heart. The final scene. After the ceremony, Anna stood on the balcony, gazing out at the glittering city. Sophia dashed out, hands smeared with fresh paint from her studio, Richard following with a coffee cup in hand. The three of them looked toward the horizon, not as broken fragments, but as a family reborn from ashes. And Anna thought quietly, sometimes the most beautiful stories don't begin with success, but with the mistakes we dare to mend.